AITA for not telling my adoptive son I'm really his half-sister. Me, 28F. My husband, Dave, 29. My mom, Louise, 45. My son, Frankie, 5. My parents were both born in 1974, and I was born in 1992. As you can guess, they were about 18 when I was born. My mom refused an abortion, but was adamant she would have nothing to do with me, so she bailed literally the day I was born. As soon as she knew I was okay, she managed to get herself discharged and vanished, and I guess relinquishing her parental rights. My dad was shocked as he was only 17 at the time, but he loved from the start and he managed to give me an awesome childhood. I didn't have anything to do with Louise GBH. She would come and go every few years, getting my hopes up to see her and bailing when shit got real. I also later learned she was addicted to medications and begged my dad for money, so my image of her was not a good one. She got clean when I was about 22, and I decided to give her a chance. Things were great for a while, but I realized she was treating me more as a friend than a daughter, and I got really bad with my mental health, and she bailed again. I decided that was my last straw and cut her off. All was fine until she turned up in early 2015 heavily pregnant. I was shocked because, not being rude, she was approaching 41 and she didn't seem to have her life together, and that I didn't think she was motherly at all. She confirmed that the pregnancy was a mistake and was considering giving him up. I was already married, and despite only being 23, I offered to adopt the baby as he was family anyway. Louise was fine with this. She gave birth to Dave, and I officially adopted him as our son. Louise bailed once again, and we never saw her. Louise has recently come into the picture, and she seems to be a changed woman. She talked to me through my dad, and he confirmed she fell back on medications, but has gone to rehab, is in a stable job now, and a good relationship. I said that was great to hear, but why does this involve me? I learned that she wants Frankie to be in her life and me as she misses her kids. I wasn't impressed, but I agreed to meet her myself to see what she had to say. She seemed genuinely remorseful and acknowledged her mistakes. She then asked me how I was doing as an older sister, and I corrected her by saying I'm a mom. She got really angry and said I had no right to make Frankie think I was his mom and Davis his dad. I reminded her that she relinquished her rights to both me and him, and she has no right to tell me how to parent. I also said he knows me and my husband as his parents, my dad as his grandpa, and that if I've mentioned her briefly, he thinks she is his grandma. She called me an R and has called me one repeatedly. Dave and my dad think Louise is crazy, but I wonder if maybe I should tell Frankie the truth. IDK, he's my son to me. I should add I haven't talked to my mom since this, and blocked her after her comments. I feel I need to make it very clear I will tell him the truth one day. I just didn't think it would be now cause he's only 5. Reddit comments. NTA, but dude, you need to make a plan for telling him the truth, because this woman is 100% going to find a way to do so eventually, whether you cut her out of your life or not. You do not want him finding out from her, especially if she's feeling spiteful about being blocked from his life. I would speak to a family counselor about the best way to handle this. I plan on telling him one day. Child welfare experts agree that it's harmful to keep one's parentage a secret for any length of time. Waiting until a child is old/mature enough to understand is outdated and ill-advised. The archives of r/adoption have numerous posts written by adoptive parents asking how and when to tell their child that they're adopted. I think you may find the replies to be helpful. Edit, I sense that you're not really grasping how important adoption disclosure is. I sincerely hope you'll take some time to read through them. There are few things in adoption that are 100% agreed on, but the consistent recommendation from child welfare experts is that best practices are when adoptees grow up with the knowledge that they are adopted from the day they come home. It's been known for decades that it is deeply harmful to keep an adoption secret from an adoptee. Adoptees deserve to grow up with the knowledge that their family is an adoptive family. There is absolutely no reason to keep it a secret, whether through lies of omission or more overt lies. Keeping an adoptee's adoption a secret from them hurts the adoptee and hurts the family. Relationships are built with trust, and trust is built with honesty. Secrets and lies destroy the foundations that relationships are built on. If your child doesn't know they are adopted, they will be what's called a late discovery adoptee, or LDA for short. I made this post a while back with all of the resources I could find for LDAs. Please read through the resources. Every child deserves better than that. NTA. You probably should tell him the truth at some point. Not an expert here, but your BO mom is for sure. It's great if she changed, but really, how dare she act like all you're being to Frankie as an older sister? You are that child's mother and you've played that role all his life. I also think, if she truly changed, she wouldn't still be treating you like she is. Of course. Frankie is an awesome kid and I'll tell him the truth one day. My only argument for this judgment is that he's 5 and IDK, if that's the right age to tell him. I feel like this is a great time to tell him. I can understand you having struggles telling a 0 to 3-year-old this much of family discourse. But, at 5-year-old kids aren't dumb. They know what you're saying, and can comprehend even more complicated things than you would imagine. Keeping it a secret longer than this age would or could maybe bloom out in resentment and anger. You will probably need to tread extremely carefully though, since this still is a very heavy subject. My parents told me at 1 week old, they would say that I'm special because I'm adopted. They kept saying this over the years till I finally asked what does that word mean, and then they explained in basic terms that I came from another woman who loved me very much, but couldn't take care of me, that they had been waiting 4 years for a child, and were so happy when they were given me. Then as I grew up I'd asked other questions when they occurred to me. It was never a big thing, just part of everyday life. It's really not that hard, she's just making it so in her head. My personal opinion, he is at a great age to be told. He is old enough to understand it. 5 sounds young. But kids are smart. You know this is his mother. But once he's older he may take it more personally and might be more angry about it. Best of luck to you and your family. You sound like great parents. NTA. A gentle-ish kid should know where they come from in an age-appropriate way. Your son doesn't need to know the emotions and full history between you and your mother now, or perhaps ever. But he should know that he was adopted. One way to go about this is start with basic facts. Introduce details as age appropriate, but be guided by his questions. Children are naturally curious, but he may or may not care about this. The biggest thing here is that it shouldn't be a shocking secret that he feels ashamed of. Being adopted should just be part of his identity the same way that you and your husband are his mother and father. And remember that children will take their cues from you. So if you act neutral, he'll just take it as a fact. But if you act scarily about it, he'll see that too. Basically, the advice with adopted children is they shouldn't remember learning that they are adopted. My in no way comparable example is that I've always known that my mum was 7 months pregnant when my parents got married. Obviously a little harder to hide, but I remember being little and saying I was at my parents' wedding without shame attached to that fact. I would make sure to expose your son to media that has different families represented so that he can see that his family arrangement isn't weird, but is just one of many possible families. Possibly seek out a few visits with a child therapist to get some tips on how best to communicate with him. He will in all likelihood take this pretty easily, but it only gets worse the longer you wait. It gently. As an adopted person, I strongly advocate for you to discuss your child's adoption with him as soon as possible and often. It is complicated, it is messy, but there are so many resources out there to normalize adoption for your son. My sister and I were both adopted and always knew that our BO parents loved us, but were not able to be parents to us. It's amazing what kids understand, and it's harmful when they don't know the truth. That said, a child doesn't always need to know the details of adult relationships, and if your mother won't respect your wishes, and it's okay to send boundaries with your mother. Some kids have one parent, Some have 2, and some have 4. You have us as your parents, and a BO dad and BO mom. Your grandmother is actually your BO mother. She had always struggled with mental health, and wasn't there for me as a child. She was not the best mother to me, and became pregnant with you. She decided that the best thing for you would be to place you with a loving family. While I'm biologically your sibling, I'm your mother and your father, and I love you very much. This does not change anything between us. We are your parent. You are our son. It does mean you have a biological mother and father. At this time we don't have a relationship with them. That is not because they don't love you. Your mother gave you the gift of a child. She doesn't seem to see it that way, and you are not idiot if you prevent her from seeing your son until she follows your boundaries. It's more than okay to set boundaries to protect your child.